Have you ever felt that fear not only paralyzes you, but stops you from living fully, from growing into the person you are meant to be? It's as if fear is an invisible force that cuts your roots, keeping you small, tethered to a world of safety and certainty. We cling to what we know because the known is comfortable. It is predictable, secure. But the moment we dare step beyond that boundary into the unknown, fear surges on, whispering that we are unprepared, that mistakes lie ahead, that we might lose ourselves entirely. And so we remain in our safe, stunted existence, never daring to risk, never daring to truly live. I remember a time when I wondered why people postpone life, always saying tomorrow, when in truth, tomorrow may never come. It's a strange paradox. We are so afraid of the uncertainties and dangers of life that we delay living it, postponing our deepest experiences, our most intense joys, for a future that remains perpetually out of reach. The irony is that by clinging to the familiar, we become prisoners of our own hesitation, never fully experiencing the richness that life has to offer. We miss out on moments of unbridled passion, on those rare instances of true freedom when you risk everything and burn your life's torch from both ends. There is a wisdom, almost revolutionary, in the idea that to grow to your destiny, you must live dangerously, to cast aside the comfort of what is known and embrace the thrill of the unknown. It takes great courage to do that. It takes a fearless heart. Fear of death, fear of failure, fear of going crazy. All of these are but reflections of a deeper anxiety, the fear of truly being alive. Many of us, conditioned from childhood by well-meaning but ultimately confining voices, are taught to delay our questions and our passions. I recall a young child questioning the elders relentlessly, only to be met with, "Wait until you're older." Yet by that time, the spark of curiosity has been dimmed by a lifetime of postponement. This very postponement creates an existence where death looms large, not because death itself is monstrous, but because we have never really tasted life. When you postpone living, the fear of death grows, for you are constantly aware of an unfulfilled life slipping away. I once heard a story of a wise man who, when pressed by a relentless young seeker, confessed that he didn't truly know the answers he'd been asked to provide. This simple honesty revealed something profound, that all the postponements and evasions of our elders are not meant to shield us from the truth, but rather to keep us in a state of perpetual waiting, a waiting that becomes a substitute for living. In every culture, from the smallest village to the largest city, there is an undercurrent of this same postponement, this refusal to face the unknown head-on. And in doing so, we allow fear to seep into every corner of our being. Fear of death, fear of loneliness, fear of the intensity of love and orgasm, fears that keep us from reaching our full, authentic potential. When we talk about love, for instance, many are so terrified of the deep vulnerability it brings that they engage in relationships superficially. Love, in its most transcendent form, dissolves the boundaries of the ego and reveals a unity so intense that even death seems to hover at its edge. But because we fear that dissolution, we chatter endlessly. We fill the silence with words, keeping at bay the overwhelming presence of what we truly are. In that very silence, in the unguarded moment when the ego drops away, we might experience an orgasm, not just a physical one, but an ecstatic merging with existence itself. Yet our conditioning makes us recoil, labeling that pure intensity as dangerous, or even as a precursor to insanity. And then there is the fear of death. Most of us have been conditioned to see death as the ultimate enemy, a final curtain call, the end of everything. Yet, when we really examine life, we find that death is not separate from it. Rather, It is an integral part of the same process. Life and death are like the two sides of the same coin. One cannot exist without the other. Breathing itself is a rhythmic dance between inhalation and exhalation, between life and the quiet passing away of each moment. The truly awakened person understands that death is not something to be dreaded, but a natural crescendo in the symphony of life, a moment when all our accumulated fears, regrets, and attachments are released, leaving us with the possibility of a new beginning. I've seen how deeply society can manipulate these fears. Think about how religions, political ideologies, and even modern psychoanalysis have all found ways to exploit our fear of the unknown. They offer us neat answers and promises of salvation, urging us to postpone our true selves for a future that may never come. They tell us to prepare for death by following rigid rules, to suppress our natural desires, especially our sexuality, in order to maintain an illusion of control. In doing so, they strip us of our natural spontaneity and trap us in an endless cycle of repression and guilt. The result is a society of people who are not truly alive, who are afraid to love deeply or to express themselves fully because they have never been given the permission to be real. And what of the pain we experience? Often, it is not the physical pain that troubles us most, but the psychological torment that comes from our relentless worry about what might be. We fill the future with imagined disasters and the past with regret, leaving no room for the present. Yet when we allow ourselves to experience pain fully, as a teacher rather than an enemy, we might discover that it sharpens our senses, that it brings us into a state of heightened awareness. Pain, when embraced, becomes a powerful ally, a call to awaken from our stupor and to appreciate the delicate beauty of each fleeting moment. It is in the confrontation with pain that we learn the true value of pleasure, and in the dance of pleasure and pain, we may finally glimpse the secret of a life lived without fear. Imagine a life where you no longer run from your shadows, where you meet every moment with an open heart and a clear mind. A life in which you no longer postpone your questions for tomorrow, but dive headlong into the mysteries of existence right now. In that life, even when faced with the inevitability of death, you would feel a profound sense of freedom and joy, knowing that every ending is simply a transformation, every loss an invitation to renewal. To live fully means to risk being vulnerable, to allow yourself to be touched by both ecstasy and despair, to experience love without the barriers of ego and guilt. It means understanding that life's intensity, the very force that can make you tremble in fear, can also set you free. There is a beauty in embracing life's inherent risks. The moment you dare to step into the unknown, you begin to break free from the chains of conditioned fear. Like a tree whose roots dig deep into the earth, you too can grow tall and strong, reaching toward the sky without fear of the inevitable winds that try to shake you. For when you are fully rooted in your true self, when you have tasted the ecstasy of pure presence, the fears that once held you captive lose their power. They become mere shadows, fleeting, insubstantial, and ultimately insignificant in the vast panorama of your awakened existence. So I invite you to question everything that has been imposed upon you, the fears, the doubts, the postponements. Look into your own heart and ask, what is it that I am truly afraid of? Is it the unknown? Is it the dissolution of the ego? Or is it the possibility of experiencing life in all its raw, unfiltered glory? Allow yourself to be vulnerable, to embrace the intensity of your emotions, and to see that every moment, whether filled with joy or pain, is an opportunity to live more deeply. When you understand that life and death are two facets of the same eternal process, you will find that fear is nothing more than an illusion, a shadow that disappears when confronted with the light of awareness. Let your journey be one of fearless exploration, where each step into the unknown is a celebration of your own existence. Let go of the need for certainty and security, and instead, allow yourself to be carried by the current of life. In doing so, you will discover that the greatest act of courage is not to avoid death, but to live so fully that death itself becomes a joyous farewell to an existence lived without regrets. This is not merely a philosophical idea. It is a way of being that transforms every aspect of your life, from the most mundane moments to the most profound experiences of love, art, and intimacy. In the end, to be truly alive is to embrace both the light and the dark, the pleasure and the pain, the beginning and the end. It is to know that every moment is a chance to dance with life, to experience the ecstasy of being, and to let go of the old, constricting masks of fear that have kept you from your true nature. When you stand on the edge of the known and peer into the vast uncharted territory of your inner self, you will see that there is nothing to fear, only the promise of endless possibility. And in that realization, you will find not only the strength to live fully, but also the grace to welcome death as a natural, beautiful part of your journey.